innovation, security, programming, technology, development.
Let's begin.
DevSecOps, your cybersecurity and technology podcast.
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to have you here again for our fifth season of DevSecOps podcast. I'm Cássio Pereira,
I am Benyor.
and it's a pleasure to have this episode today because we have a friend here that we will be introducing in a moment. But first, we need to talk about our partners, which is important as well for our living. And the DevSecOps podcast is supported by Checkmarx and Nova8 Cybersecurity, who are specialized in system and security X code. So the link of Nova8 and Checkmarx distributor in Brazil and Europe as well, it's below the episode description and in YouTube, also in DevSecOps podcast.com.br. If you are looking for application security solutions, Digitalwolk has a complete portfolio for you. Also, Gold Security specializes in application security. Do you want to develop secure code or secure software? Talk to Gold Security as well. So guys, today the episode is a legend that nobody knows if it's true, or a real problem that only security teams can see it, or the reality of hundreds of companies around the world. Today we're going to be talking about C-level and application security. Is there a problem there? Is there a balance? What can we do about it? But first, I want to introduce our guest. Yoad, welcome. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself to the audience, then we can start our conversation. Welcome again.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. So my name is Yoad. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mirror Security. I come from a long background of IT security, DevSecOps, started from the on-premise world, the data centers, networking, virtualization, slowly migrated to cloud. Like most Israelis, I've worked for the government in one of the special units, and a few corporates, few startups, and in my last role, I led a group of DevOps engineers at Microsoft Cloud Application Security, and we were one of the companies that's been hit by the SolarWinds attack over there. And I was looking for a solution that can kind of tackle this problem, and I couldn't find anything, so I decided to ditch the good corporate life and start my own company to treat that solution.
Cool. So again, welcome for being here with us and dedicate your time. And let's start our conversation. I think we have a bunch of topics that we would like to cover. The time is limited, so let's try to fit to the audience what is most value for them. But I think one thing that we discussed and we agreed to start is one thing on some concerns on your side as let's say a product developer, let's say, or a new product on the market that you want to put. You want to understand some challenge, let's say from our side, like me and Ben-Yur as well, that we are inside companies, and what kind of challenge do you have? Do you have specific questions around this, or can you start describing some things like this?
Yeah, I think so. So I think a lot of founders that listen to the podcast, and specifically in cybersecurity, would love to learn how you work. Specifically, it's really hard to reach your kind of people because you're getting spammed, I think, at least 30 messages a day from vendors. A lot of them were kind of like are looking for feedback, which is great, but you don't have the capacity. I'm getting the same as a CEO from other vendors. So I think it might be a good opportunity to kind of describe, first of all, how do you guys manage your application security program as a whole, right? How do you work with your executives? And kind of this balance of how you define a security program and how you execute it and how you affect your C-level and your basic challenges today, right? Because there are tons and we don't have enough time. But just kind of to elaborate, what are you guys doing today? What keeps you awake at night? What are you kind of running in your program today?
That's good. Ben-Yur, do you want to start this? Ben-Yur, you can also tell us the company that you work and so on. So I think it will be good for the audience to know about Mercado Livre that I know, but it's important for the audience.
Yeah. I am application security leader here at Mercado Libre. It's one of the greatest e-commerce and banking companies in Brazil and South America, principally. Here in Brazil, we are the top one seller in the part of e-commerce. And as a big company with 16,000 people in IT and development, we separate cybersecurity in different sections. Okay, what's my section? For example, I am responsible for securing the code, everything that's writing code, not infrastructure, not cloud security, not Kubernetes or everything else, just what's is in the code. And I started to talk about it because we need to limit it. What's the balance of what you are managing, the application security or cybersecurity in which area? And we have a bunch of things, but I like to put five things in the first place. First, education, cybersecurity education. This is the main topic because we are talking about developers and they are writing code, they installing libraries and other bunch of things like that. So we need to secure the code from the knowledge of the target of all the threads that we could have in code. First, this is first. This knowledge should be shared. The second is what can we scale with technology? SAST, SCA, secret scanning, DAST, etc. Something that we can attack the bunch of applications without need manually reviewing all the things because we can scale with that. We are 1 to 100. We have more than 100 people in application security, but for more than 10,000 people in development, it's really impossible to do the things manually. After that, we need specialized capacities for difficult things. So, threat modeling, pen testing, securing code, and architecture review. So, this is the five things that's the most important right now in the context of application security. First, developers, acknowledgement. Second, automation in every place that we can scale, and then specialized things like threat modeling, pen testing.
Benno, I have one question specifically about the education part. So, do you feel today that you work with, I guess, like security champions in your development teams, right? Do you feel it's working well? Do you feel that kind of developers actually get the sense that they care about security, or you say, okay, I got to a point that I understand they don't really care security, but they need to run fast, right? They have a manager and the manager run features and customers want bug fixes. And then you say, okay, I have to move to a level down and just enforce automation. Otherwise I'm doomed, right? So that's my main question, I think.
Perfect. One thing that it's personally my opinion is we need to separate two things. What is acknowledgement that AppSec professionals should have, and what security acknowledgement the development should have. So we have two things, and one mistake in the past that is I commonly see in every company is let me try to make this developer a security professional. And for me, this is a big mistake because they should be good developers, excellent developers. And as application security specialists, we need to create software and skills that could be absorbed in development and not transform developer into security professionals. So we need to separate what's the main acknowledgement that developers should have, and we need tools for that. For example, when we talk about shift lefting, probably in the past we were talking about SAST. Okay, now we are not talking about SAST. Now we are talking about VS Code extensions with AI to provide runtime acknowledgement and auto fixes for security when we are working, when we are developing, and not start developing, submit the code to a cloud, run a bunch of scripts, and then we have a feedback. And sometimes in 1 hour, 2 hours after the code is pushed.
Yeah.
So we need to write code and get feedback instantly. So if we work directly in this part, yes, we are good. But if we think that with one talk a month, let's talk about security, once a month, probably we will not continue with a good security champion program. So we need to be constantly with the developer. And with knowledge that matters for the development team, not trying to make a developer fifth time development, fifth pen tester.
Yep, totally agree.
Cool. I would add to this point as well the fact we discussed this, I think, in the last episodes of fourth season. Exactly this point. Developer should code. Yes, it's important. It's the main job. But how he can code avoiding risks or avoiding problems that he coding can bring to the product itself. And yes, SCA, SAST, whatever, name it. It should be there as an automation, part of the pipeline, CI/CD, etc. etc. Yeah, this should be there to ensure that things are not missing. Yeah, but when creating the code, when actually typing the code itself, is the exact moment that this developer should know what he's doing. And I would say that a basic, yeah, basic, advanced, we can discuss on that, but knowing the vulnerabilities, what they are, how they happen, and how that method that you are writing right now can expose your product to a specific vulnerability, it's already good enough to make that developer, okay, I'm coding here a parameter that I should validate, or I'm adding a library that I did not check before. So let me check this library before using whatever tool it is. Let me validate this parameter instead of just pushing the code and moving forward with the delivery and so on. So this mindset is not, it's not so far. Let's say I was developer before. It's not so far this vulnerability knowledge together with the coding skills itself. But when I see a lot of companies doing that, when they expect developers to implement SonarQube, then they need to scan on the SCA on the Black Duck. Then they need to go to the pipeline and push 10 different tasks to scan the code or something. And they need to connect this to Jira. And you cannot expect this from the developer itself. This, I would say that this is the AppSec team, DevOps team to make these integrations, configurations, and so on. The developer should code with the, as I say, defensive programming in mind. So he will code avoiding vulnerabilities. That's all. That's all we should expect from them as developers itself. And of course, they know that the code will be tested, that the product will be tested, and so on. It's the same thing that you go to the doctor, you are fat, and the doctor say, "Look, man, you need to eat healthy. Go to the gym." Maybe you didn't know this information before. Now you know. Now you start going to the gym and eat healthy. But when you go back to the doctor again with the same problem, the same doctor who looked to your face like, "Man, I told you know what you must be doing, and you are not doing." With the developers, it's the same thing. Sometimes they don't have this security knowledge talking about vulnerabilities itself, and then we're gonna find vulnerabilities, come back to the process. Now you need to fix a bunch of vulnerabilities and so on. But then when he knows, as you said, this culture and education, when he knows how the vulnerabilities happen, he will probably most of the time stop coding like that and coding more secure way without SaaS, without these things. It's how they code, you know? And then we have, I would say, the real security. That we're stop introducing new vulnerabilities. The doctor is there whenever you need. You go there, you have a consultation, but doesn't mean he will leave with you. Yeah, you don't have a personal doctor. It's not like that. But you know, now you have the knowledge to stop eating not healthy or not going to the gym or something like that. I think it's the same parallel that we could bring here.
By the way, I want to just double click on what you said. I have a technical question maybe that might interest the audience. So let's talk like very shift left as you mentioned, first party code, right? So you have SaaS. Do you feel that today in almost 2024, in modern high level languages, do you see a lot of coding kind of security mistakes that developers do, or because the languages are so already modern and it's harder, right? It's much harder to implement security errors in the code, or do you see it's still the same? So let's say in Python, I wouldn't see a lot of developers doing eval on a string, right? We're not there anymore. I'm wondering, are you still seeing that, or it's going less and less in terms of the quality, the quantity?
That's a good point. Also, I would say that we still have the problems because it's the same people doing the same things. So, for example, I used to be developer as C Sharp and .NET ecosystem, let's say, and .NET was abstracting a lot of things like XSS protection, I don't know, cookie stuff, authentication, authority. A lot of things are there on the framework. You just make use of it. But I saw a lot of developers, including myself in the past, like using the wrong encryption way or the encryption algorithm, so it was able to decrypt, or implementing the authorization with hard-coded session, for example, because it will be faster, or disabling by default the protection against cross-site scripting because I needed to test something localhost and I needed to change domains to do a request. And these things was being disabled from the default protection to the development purpose. That's normal, I would say. But still are going to production like this without double validation, without my knowledge sometimes that, okay, I shouldn't disable that. Actually, my development environment should be already adapted to the real production environment to make easier also for me to test the application itself and to keep the protection. A lot of things, languages are being are evolving, avoid developers to do some specific problems. But still, a lot of things are there that you can just disable them or not make use of them. And I would, as you said, you are not doing eval in Python anymore. Yeah, but then you have another, you still have a parameter that you will do something with that parameter. And how you validate that? If you don't implement the validation yourself or using a method on the framework to do that validation against whatever, SQL injection, let's say, it will be still be there, that SQL injection. But I'm using ORM. But I'm using NoSQL. Doesn't matter. It will be there. Yeah. So I think this education point comes together again with this. Developers must have this education around AppSec, which is one challenge that I can bring deeper.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, also languages and frameworks are saving a lot of time and a lot of work, I would say, because they are implementing security by default or security measures, let's say there. Yeah?
Great. And yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think have different kinds of vulnerability that are harder now to exploit. For example, if you are writing Rust code and trying to explore a buffer overflow, will be extremely hard. Okay, but hard coded credentials is something that
Every day.
exactly you can write text files with that.
Yeah.
So the language does not matter in this case, in my opinion. Okay, other thing that is we are working for so many time with new developers with ORMs, for example, to manage database connections and queries. And when these guys that migrate from one language or one framework to another, because they are changing their jobs and the new company has another stack of technology, and now we are not dealing with database library here. We write queries in the raw format. This guy knows how to write secure queries in raw form because they learned how to work only exclusively with ORMs, for example. And for cross-site scripting, well, offshore, React, Angular, the most common frameworks worked good until the product owner asked for a text box that you can put format, bold, italic, and etc. And they simply do not know how to protect from these kind of things and just make a unsafe render here because we need but do not know inclusive what is unsafe means. So the short answer is depends, but at 10% depends on the language and some kind of vulnerability, but the most vulnerabilities, for example, I saw in last 2-3 years, bro, practically I don't see any kind of evolution in prevent insecure code.
Okay.
No, I'm not seeing it.
Coming back one part when you had mentioned about the challenge and so on as we face with C levels and executive likes. One thing that I faced this last 2 years working for global company and so on. It's like, yes, you have your mission as an AppSec engineer. Okay, this is the company, this is the process that we have, this is the solutions that we have. What can we do better? Then I kind of create a map. Okay, we can do better SAST, we can do better education, we can do better vulnerability management. We are doing good SAST, but we can improve, but we are doing good. Or we don't have at all some specific tool for secret scanning, for example, as you mentioned now. And from this mapping, okay, what can we do now? Because a lot of things I just go and do myself with the tools that I have. For example, I connected my different 12 tools that I have with a Python script just to get the vulnerabilities from there and send to Azure boards. It's, to me, is easy to do, but not every AppSec engineer has coding skills. On the
Exactly.
other hand, not all the tools that you have are able to expose on an API or whatever. So okay, I was able to manage. But if I buy an ASPM, would be much better, much easier for me, and we can scale and have KPIs and so on. But then that is one challenge when we come to the management back. Like, okay, from my mapping and the needs that we have, and for thousands of things that we can improve, few of them requires budget, and part of this budget, it was not even expected that you would ask. At least in my, it was my situation. And then, okay, I can have a better SAST, I can have a better SPM, or I can do a better vulnerability management and so on. But a lot of things you need tools, or even develop something, or even buy a solution. And budget is always a problem. Not because you need to convince them, because again, as a technical and as the security guy, you already know the need. You are just saying, guys, I need 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, whatever. I need it because of this. You want to follow this or not? No, this is not priority for us. Or we don't have money for this. We have money for that. So this is one challenge that I don't know actually how to fix it, because sometimes you have budget. You have 1 million. Okay, you spread this 1 million between the things that that you want. Or you have 1 million for SAST. Yeah, but SAST we are okay. We can improve a lot of thousands. No, 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 no. We want to spend this money on SAST. So sometimes you don't have this clear direction. At least for me, I'm not C-level on this company, so I don't have the clear direction, what they expect, what they want. Sometimes I have the feeling that it's just to be compliant. Okay, so if we have SonarQube, we are compliant. Doesn't mean that we can't do better. We can have check marks, we can have Snyk, whatever. Yeah, so, but we have Sonar, we are compliant. So sometimes the company itself, they don't want to put more, like, it's working. Why we need to change?
So
It's
if I'm hearing right, it's kind of there's kind of those check marks that you have to do on the compliance level. Once you've done that, you're good. So there are times, and Ben, feel free to, because you work in a big organization as well. Sometimes you say, okay, listen, we've marked those check marks wherever we need it, but there's 2 or 3 big concerns that we see recently, and we're not protected against that. And it's important because it can hurt the company, it can create a brand damage, it can be a financial damage, and all in all, with the cost, I think it's worth it. But you say you might face an obstacle, right?
exactly, that's the point. Well, like, I'm also moving company exactly because of that. Because in one company you feel stuck, that you can't do much. You know the needs. A lot of things can be improved. The things that was, let's say, under my low hang fruits, under my reach, it was perfect because I just create a script, talk to the team, talk to another team. You have this freedom to do it. But for the things that you actually need budget, either high budget or low budget, doesn't matter. Yeah, it was a problem in this specific company. But the other one that I'm moving, the speech is different. They have the startup mindset, always improving. We want to do better every day, this and that thing. We have already some good solutions, but some things also require some, I don't know, automation and everything. I'm not talking about, okay, give me infinite pocket and I want to do it. It's not about this. It's about, okay, guys, we can do a small training, for example, as you mentioned, education from Bayer. We can talk to the developers weekly. Let's create a meetup and talk to the developers weekly, per squad, per team, per product, so we can talk about vulnerability. It doesn't cost anything. We can use the time for work, the PowerPoint, and that's all. But sometimes even this kind of initiatives, the company would say, yeah, but it's going to take time from the developers. They need to code, they need to deliver, blah, blah. Yes. And if my answer is always, and if you got a answer and stay 3 days, stop at our operations, it's also will not be delivered. So, what do you prefer, to invest in a preventive way or in a reactive way? So this challenge also bothers me a lot, especially in big companies because they have the money. You don't need to hide from someone. It's
Yeah, I
just
think it's what Benhu mentioned before, that you do threat modeling, and you kind of present that to whomever you need to present that, and it usually makes sense because you guys specifically, you are both technical, so you know exactly what needs to be done. It's not that you're coming up with some buzzword and you kind of say, okay, we need to do AI security because we read a lot of kind of blogs about it, right? Because there's a specific concern that I've seen in the organization after I've been doing some threat modeling, and this is what we need to do.
exactly. And one point that I would, just to conclude, Mayor, I would say that this is the real shift left. When you do the threat modeling based on the functional requirements, for example, because the product, the user, whatever, they have the requirements. Just by reading those requirements, you can create a lot of security requirements based on that. We need a new login page. Okay, so we need WAF, bot protection, captcha. You have some things from your mind already, just for being a security professional. And then the functional requirement itself will be already covered by the specific security requirements. Because if they are separate, you have the security requirement, then the functional requirement, security will be dropped whenever it's needed. Because it's hush, because I need to deliver, whatever. But if the requirement itself, like, guys, I need a login page with bot protection, bot prevention. I need a login page with CAPTCHA. A login page, its user and password needs to be encrypted using this or that algorithm. If it's there, the definition of done, the testing case, and everything in the process will be covering that thing, and it will not be delivered because the functional requirement itself is not done. So this is one big discussion also, because a lot of companies, they don't want to bring more load to the requirement itself because there is a user history, everything written and so on. But and to bring this load more to the POs or developers and so on, it's also problematic. Also, sometimes you need the security professional there to bring these questions or these things up, and we can't scale. As Ben mentioned, he has, I don't know, 10,000 developers for 2 3 guys, and it's also hard there to coordinate these things. Maybe for one specific squad, I don't know, part of your product, but for the whole organization, these things can be impossible also to achieve. Go on, Bayur. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no. One thing about the conversation with C levels, let me split into C levels. Okay, first, we are talking with a cybersecurity C level, or we are talking about business level. So the conversation are completely different,
Yeah.
because if we talk with cybersecurity C level, a CISO, we could talk about, bro, we need to validate all dependencies that developers are installed, and we practically do not need to talk about the risk, because the risk is implicit itself, because this guy have the knowledge about it. But if we are talking with a CAO or some business or IT or CTO, something like that, they could not know the risks. So in this view, to talk about the C levels, we need to talk about risks first, then what we can implement to mitigate that risk. For example, supply chain attack and SCA and libraries. Okay, if I go to a C-level CEO and talk about we need $2 million to implement an SCA in our company, I will never get this budget for that. But first, when we talk about, or we talk with C-levels of business levels, they need to understand what is the AppSec maturity model, because they do not have any reference. So when we will know how much we are secure or not in application security state? Okay, which percentage of security we are? What's the good indication? 90%, because 100% is a topic we will know, but securities do not have anything like that. So 9% is good. Okay, how do we measure this 9%? We will use OWASP sum. We will cover our own topics based on our organization. What we will use to provide statistics about the maturity model in application security in our company? Okay, we have a baseline right now. Good. Talking about SCA, for example. Is we have SCA or not? No. The first level is every fucking software developed in our company pass for the same CI. We have the vision of all the software is delivered in our environment. Yeah, good. Plus 5%. Okay, perfect. How do we detect malicious packages? That's a question. Malicious package is a threat. How we can detect we have something installed in our applications? Okay, now we can detect in 100% of our applications that we are installing malicious packages. This is another target. This is another measure. Perfect. If something goes wrong, like we installed a bad library, how many times we can fix it? This is another measure. So that's risk approach measures. We are the risk centric and we are asking questions to prevent, to fix, and recover from that threat. So we have different conversation with C-levels. That's the main point.
And I think what you've mentioned is, and Cassio, you mentioned it like a few minutes ago. In my opinion, an application security expert should be technical. Doesn't have to be the perfect coder, but from the past 30 minutes, all you've mentioned is around risk. But that risk that you've mentioned, it's derived from understanding exactly what developers do. Because if you don't understand it, like when you spoke about the web application and Ben, when you just spoke, about the CI/CD and malicious packages, it's because you understand how it works. And if you're just trying to come up with a application security program without understanding the technicalities, it will be not efficient at all.
And
100% agree.
I love to bring other areas to our AppSec world, because when we talk about security, everybody is, oh my god, no, we don't want, and it's everywhere. Yes, but everywhere we have this. For example, if you go to I don't know the word in English, but maybe it's the same in Portuguese. When you go to this 3-star Michelin restaurant, they have this kind of stars. To have that stars, it's a fucking hard, because they need to assure that they have the experience, the process of cleaning, of how they slice the fucking onion, whatever. Yeah?
Yeah.
And every dish that comes from the kitchen to the customer is properly supervisioned by the chef, by the whole team, and so on. It doesn't mean that the guys cooking are not good, that doesn't know how to cook. They know, but the chef is going to see all the part of the process and say, okay, this dish is okay, can go to the customer. Because imagine, customer asked something and he has allergy to some specific ingredient. It can't have failed. He can die. It's simple as that. So all the process, how we note how you take the order, how we go to the kitchen, how it's notified, someone before delivering check, oh, this customer order without gluten, whatever, cheese, milk, whatever. So yes, we did without it. Okay, so we can go. Otherwise, we're gonna kill someone. So everybody accept that. But in security, we say like, guys, your code has a problem. Oh no, no, we need to deliver. What the fuck? It's like companies are losing their minds on the okay. I just care about making my business work. I just actually don't care if it's safe. I would say also the same as cars. Cars has all the security measures. You have the seatbelt, brakes, the best brakes, sensors, automation. My car, even if it's raining, oh, it's raining. Okay, I can see it's raining. You don't need to tell me, but okay. So you have a lot of measures, but still some motherfucker are going to drink, drive at 200 miles per hour, and kill himself or kill somebody. So it always comes to this part of people do shit. It's okay, on purpose or not. So when we bring this security concerns, it's like, guys, we need to automate the way we want to check these things, tools, process, strategies, whatever, and we need solutions for that. But it's also about people. They need to know that, guys, okay, you are a developer here. You're not the CEO. And the CEO said that we not deliver unsecure product. So it doesn't matter how the developers will not like this tool or this experience. Fuck you. You're not delivering shit code. So I think also we lack part of this support from C-level, from business side. CISOs knows, CTOs knows, but these business guys also they must say, okay, my business will be secure, or whatever security is, as Ben said, it's not 100% secure. Okay, but my business will make sure that we are doing everything possible to avoid some threats to ourselves and to our customers. As I know, you are working in a bank, so you need to make sure that people's money are safe.
Yep.
Simple as that. Or you work in a car factory. You need to make sure that that car will not fail some software there and people will lose their lives. So it's business drives these things. And on the other hand, they take risks. I like, okay, we need this feature, brings value, blink the screen, whatever, customers love, that's fine. And we are okay with this risk being there as soon as we fix tomorrow. That's also okay. Yeah, humanity is driving by this. We are going in the past hunting these huge animals. Few of these guys were not coming back home. Yeah? And today we have on the supermarket on an easy way. We don't need to hunt anymore. So
Yeah.
taking risks is what is part of the humanity itself. But when it comes to neglecting, I would say, like, okay, we know the risk, but leave it. That's the thing. Yeah, that's the challenge. Because I would say that, as Ben Yuri mentioned, the risk itself, the risk sells. Like, guys, you want to deliver this, that's fine. The risk is we can stop the operation. So let's double check. Or the risk of this is this database, which has no sensitive information, can be leaked. Okay, we can live with that risk. But as soon as everybody take this decision together, it can't be only security pointing the finger that problems are there, because it's easy to find those problems. It's also about how business care about these things. What you want to deliver as a product to the society itself, to the customer, and so on.
Yeah. I hear it's coming from your stomach. So
That's true.
You, I think that what Cassius mentioned is about a culture that security created in the past that now we should have learned. That is secure. We are the security guys. Security is our job, and we are defining all the fucking rules here. And shut up. That was a legacy from cybersecurity in the past that we need to change, because if we need people to have involved in cybersecurity, they should be part of the cybersecurity. And what's be part is defining solutions, it's proposing some things, it's getting involved. So in the past, we simply we are simply throwing bunch of security requirements that you should implement if you want to live or die. So we should change a little bit about it. And why? Because right now we are talking about two things. First thing is the shift left, threat modeling the security in the product requirements, like Cassio said. We are talking about security advisement when we are coding. For example, to prevent malicious library, why to run an SCA in the CI if we are running npm install, and why we can prevent from that moment. For example, when when I want to install a library, well, I will get advice from that point.
Why wait for it to be merged into the mainstream branch when you can already detect it and prevent the frustration of the same developer that have to now replace a library or get a new version which even might not even exist or there's no fix, etc.
Exactly, and that's a good point that you mentioned, because okay, this library have a vulnerability. Okay, it's in the first class vulnerability of is a transitive dependency vulnerability, and how this affect us. It's exploitable from our kind of application, or not. How could I make this decision? So we another thing that is challenging about talking for budget things with C levels are, is this tool really solves our problem, or making our percentage of we are securing greater? The cost, it's okay for that gain or not? For example, and we are talking about taking decision. For example, if we are installing a library and it has some vulnerability in that, we are taking the decision of keeping that library or not, and that decision should be based on some acknowledgement or something that could be provided for the tool. This library has a vulnerability but not affect your environment.
Exactly.
Okay, the,
By the way, that's something that I wanted to double click because you mentioned it. I think that today, and I don't know if how much time you guys spend on triaging, but I feel like this is one of the biggest pain I had in Microsoft. I spent 50% of my time. I know my manager came up, and we had customers. We had a 7 days SLA, and fix everything. And I told them, listen, I know for sure we're not using that in the code. The production server that we're deploying to is not exposed on the relevant port, and it's a YAML library, but we're not parsing any YAMLs. But again, I think that's I couldn't prove I could prove to him because we were both technical. He was the technical C level, but he said, you know what? We have the customers. You need some way to actually explain the customer, if you're providing that to the customer, which is most of the cases, that it's not exploitable or not reachable, for example.
exactly,
And that's
exactly.
a big problem.
And taking that decision costs time. And if we cost time, we are not working in some cases that really need attention to work on. Let me check and review this library with this fucking vulnerability is really okay, okay. And we have all the education and security approachments and threat modeling, etc. We are not taking action on that because you are reviewing a fucking library. So reducing the decision making costing. For example, if a developer are writing code and then the developer has an advice automatically in their code that is vulnerable, that's a decision making. I will accept this suggestion or not, and why. And if we reducing the time for this decision making, we are making money because
Yep.
the developer is writing code faster, is not taking too many time to decide something. We will not call the AppSec guy, let me review this, and then the AppSec guy has 1,000 messages in Slack that for the same fucking question that should be on call and explain and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we are losing money. And this money could be used for software, could be
Happy
used
hours.
for any other thing
Happy
that
hour.
Happy hour is good. It's good.
DevSecOps. DevSecOps.
Before, I mean, we are spending 45 minutes already on this. It's super nice. We can spend
Yeah.
our lives here. But as you said, you could spend money and time with other things. Before I bring a question to Yod, so then we can close up. I would add something to this point, which is also when we talk about education and culture and so on. Like Yod is based in Israel. Yeah? As far as I know, every people in Israel, you go to the army. Yeah, you spend like two years in the army. Everybody for the whole history of the country and so on. I'm from São Paulo in Brazil, so we know how to is to walk on the streets at night and look into your shoulders. You know, if there is no pickpockets, if there is nobody trying to rape you or whatever, you don't stop in the red light with your car, for example, after 10 p.m. We know these things. It's in our blood. Yeah, and when I came to Europe, here's safer in general. Yeah,
Yeah.
and also the people bring this mindset to the coding. When I was coding Brazil and talking security in Brazil is one discussion. Here in Europe, it's another. It is
Interesting.
different. So it's also this where you are. I would say that also influences how you behave professionally, how you code, how you deliver product, whatever. This also has some impact somehow. How you drive, how you act as a human being.
You
So
say
this
after 10 p.m. people like code SQL injection.
Yeah, something like that. I would say something like that. Yeah. So this is also a thing that we should consider. Like, I mean, okay, who is this developer? I don't know. It's a guy from Europe, or it's a guy from Israel, or it's a guy from Brazil, or it's a guy from US. So I would say that this also has some impact. If you are a psychologist, psychiatrist, and you are listening to this, come to record with us so we can talk about people's mind, human mind, how this can
In
be
different
true.
regions.
Yeah.
Definitely. Listen, it's the first time I've been, it's a super important point. Never touched that before. That's the whole
Yeah,
discussion.
I think also makes sense because I saw one discussion between the developers here. I bring them one vulnerability. It was a SQL injection, and they said we know about that, and it's documented. And I said, Okay, it's documented for who?" He said, "Publicly." So, it's something like, "Dear hacker, we have a SQL injection. Please do not exploit it." What the hell? Man, are you crazy? And really, I took some time to process and understand if they were saying true. And it was the mindset was like, but people here, they respect, they are more polite. Well, they will read and not abuse that. I said, yeah, okay. So I don't trust me because now I'm a bad employee. I don't want to screw the company. So please fix that. So I will not be tempted to do it. So
Exactly.
I think it's a point also that we could discuss. But okay, now I have a question to Yod. Around we discuss a lot of things, and one is what as a CEO on a security product company, what you are trying to achieve. I know, yeah, you try to get pains and so on from the customers. This is important, but what you are trying to achieve with mirror security now, that it's important from your perspective. As we met in Black Hat, it was blind spot. Then yeah, there is some changes, and what catches my eyes was exactly like, we will get your packages and protect against tampering. Like, okay, I downloaded the jQuery version 1, and when I build my application and release it, you know, make sure that this package was not tempered by my team or something inside my company. This was awesome because I never heard about it. Nobody's doing this. And tell us about your product, what you are trying to solve in general.
So you just mentioned everything. So thank you. Bye bye. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, actually, so it was. As I mentioned, I had two problems in life, and Ben, you were kind of. It's a problem because you mentioned you want to go as shift left as possible, but as a startup, it's really hard because we can't develop a plugin for every IDE. So we tried going as shift left as possible. I think the most shift left after the IDE is the pull request. So I mean, it's not the base case scenario because you want to be integrated with Vim and VS Code and IntelliJ and WebStorm. But if not, I think we're at that place that checks everything before it's being merged to the upstream branch. And the intention here is you probably heard about 2 weeks ago about the Ledger Connect kit attack with the malicious package and the 600K theft. So I'm still speaking with specifically, especially with CISOs, but with security professionals in general, and I'm asking them, why didn't your Snyk, why wouldn't it detect it? No answer. There's kind of a false sense of security in the industry where people think if I have an SCA today, I'm protected. But the world is not only vulnerabilities. So the way we see it, you have to be protected against vulnerabilities. You have to be protected against 0 days, which is fine. But there are malicious actors that try to kind of go under the water and where it's hidden. And we're seeing it more and more. We've seen it with compromised packages like UA parser, like the Ledger connected, Koa.js, RCGS. We're seeing that with CI/CD attacks like 3CX, Jump Cloud with distribution server, and of course the SolarWinds attack. And so I think those two use cases need to be combined together, and that's what we're doing. So in the vulnerability engine, that's what you both mentioned, you need a way to do triaging. So we try to do the triaging for you. First of all, let you know, are you using that vulnerability, not the maliciousness, the vulnerability in your code? Is it exploitable? Is it open to the internet? Is it even deployed in production? Is it a test case or not? So you can actually focus on attacks. And in the attacks matter, we try to understand if somebody might inject a compromised package, like happened with the Ledger Connect kit, which somebody like spearfished one of the former employees and uploaded a new package to NPM. How would you know about it? It's a compiled package. It isn't found in the source code. And even if it's found, you've seen the actual code that's been added, it looks totally legitimate. And it's only increasing. So I think one thing I would want to do is just kind of educate people around that. Be concise, just be conscious of that, right? Know there are those kind of attacks in the industry, and our intention is to eventually have AppSec people like you spend less and less time on remediation, triaging, and put as much as automation as possible, because you have enough work to do and you have enough. You better spend your time on architecture and best practices and secure by default, and not fixing issues after they happen.
That's good. Bayer, you can buy already the new solution implementing
Yeah.
Mercado Libre.
I'm sure there's a short sales cycle in this huge bank.
No, that's cool because yeah, triage is one big problem. Actually, I would say that I worked in a company that they were afraid of bringing good security tools that would float the developers after with a lot of vulnerabilities. And I was like, okay, guys, it's like you were telling me, so you have a pain, you can die, but you don't want to go to the doctor because you're afraid of the doctor to say, oh, you have cancer. God damn it, you need to go, know the problem, and start fixing it. Yeah, divide a plan and act on it. So this is also,
It's not that hard. You just have
yeah,
to pay attention to it. That's all.
exactly. Guys, times runs fast. I think we covered a lot of things. We have a lot of things still to talk, but let's invite already Yoad for the another episode. Yeah, maybe some sponsorship. Who knows? And and then we can cover, of course, a lot of other things. But we don't want to keep long episodes. So, guys who are listening to us, thank you for the audience. Yeah, thank you for listening until here. I made a mistake. Usually in the middle of episode, we give a warning for people who are distracted and listening to us and getting lost on the traffic, for example, because we got some complaints for some listeners that, oh, I was so excited listening to you that I lost my train or I lost the car. Okay, guys, so take the attention, have a break, stop for a second, but it's already too late. If you are missing your train, for sure you're in another station already. Guys, you have final words, something that you'd like to consider to bring in, send hugs, kisses to families?
Yeah, of course, and just hugs and kisses, and always. And just wanted to thank both of you. I mean, it's always nice to speak with, you know, security experts, especially technical experts. I learned a lot, so I appreciate it.
Ben-Hur?
Thank you for your participation today. It was amazing. This is my first podcast in English language. Yeah. So thank you for you and Casio for the invite, of course. And let's talk in the future for what we are expecting in the next year for software supply chain, SCA, and this challenging world of malicious packages that we know what it is, but it's still a challenge to solve.
Yeah, cool guys. Thank you again for having for joining us again, Yoad, Ben-Hur. I will put the links from Your Security, Yoad, LinkedIn will be there on the YouTube channel, also on devsecospodcast.com.br. That's it. I think we see you next week on the next episode. I'm Cássio Pereira.
I am Benyor.
And Yoad, again, thank you for your time and thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
guys, appreciate it.
That was DevSecOps, your cybersecurity and technology podcast. DevSecOps, finishing now.